Okay. All right, this is the Q&A session. We haven't had one in a while. I finally got permission to do it. I sent out a mass email to everybody talking about how we're going to refile. We were able to get that in 5 different media publications. We were also able to get them to mention that we had a lot of other activities coming up in the near future. People are generally excited. I got done with 3 more interviews or 4 today. So generally good news. People have accepted the refiling. They've accepted that we have a lot of things coming forward. But I'm here for questions and to answer anything if anybody got the mass email. Kristen, we'll do 2 questions and then we'll wait for the next person. What do you got? Yes,
Okay.
Sue.
Yeah. So, as you might know, I have been fairly successful at collecting signatures, and I've already sent you a bunch. So, my question is, should I continue trying to collect until the official new initiative is available? Should I
That's a
stop?
great that's a great question. So what we're telling people right now is hold on to the petitions. So we're going to refile the exact same text. We're not 100% sure, but we think we have an argument that they should be able to take the petitions from the last round, including the new round, because the text will be exactly the same. I'm not sure. We are going to refile somewhere around August 2nd to August 10th. Only when we refile will we get a response from the Secretary of State and the California Attorney General's office letting us know. They're the ones that can finally do that. So what we're saying is hold on to the petitions. We might still be able to use them. We're going to be pushing for that, but I won't have the answer for about a week or two because those are the groups that make the final decision. And yeah, there are rules, but they can also go, well, we felt the lean on this side this time or lean on that time. If you want, simply as a way of getting more people discussing, you could ask people to sign the petition. You can't tell them that it's still valid, but if that causes discussion and gets more people interested, whenever the signature gatherers went out and collected signatures, I know Carla up north, I know there was a woman down in San Diego, a lot of you have been killing yourselves. It is so awesome because we get other people in the area going, I saw someone talking about CalExit. And when random people go out and they go shopping or pick up their kids or they go throw the trash and they see anyone talking about CalExit, it puts this idea in their head that the conversation is everywhere. And so there's massive, incredible benefit from just being seen collecting signatures. The signatures are important, but being seen having the conversation is mega important. That's up to you. That's up to you if you want to do that.
Okay.
I would say otherwise, hold on to them.
But just to clarify, all the 50 or so signatures that I've already collected, will those still count after the refiling? Will those count?
I won't know until we refile, and then I ask the question from the Attorney General and the Secretary of State's office. Once I've filed the paperwork with the $2,000 check, then they're kind of legally obliged to respond. So until they give me the answer, I just don't know. And partly it's because it's a not super clear aspect of the law. The initiative process isn't really well defined in law, and the agencies in California's government they have a lot of leeway to interpret how they want to do it.
Mm.
So I won't know until we refile and until they get back to me. So sometime between August 2nd and the 10th, I think we will definitely have an answer and we will make sure to inform everybody of that. I'm sorry. I wish I had better info, but I we got to follow the process. They got
Yeah,
to tell me what's up and we go from there.
yeah. I just hate to think that all those signatures would be trashed, Uh,
It was a hard decision. So originally the one was about a month and a half ago. We go, okay, do we do where we tell everybody, hey, we're not sure, but let's go for it. Let's collect all the signatures. Let's go in. And we think we can meet the qualification number around 550 or whatever it was. The problem is that every signature campaign has required professional gatherers since the late 1970s, early 80s. So even the most successful ones like gay marriage, marijuana, stem cell research for children, they were only able to collect like 30, 45% of the signatures, and then they had to hire a petition signature company to collect the rest of them at about $2 to $3 million. Unfortunately, dirty secret in California politics, that's the way it's been done for the last 3.5, 4.5 decades. So we knew we would need volunteers like you, like Carla, like other people, but we knew we would have to raise money to hire professional signature gatherers. Because we were not able to hire them, we had to make a decision. So professional signature gatherers, because they've done it before, they kind of know what the signature has to look like. The address has to match. You can't have multiple counties. There's a lot of ways you have to fill out the form.
Mhm.
When we're dealing with volunteers, most people are guided by their heart, and that's brilliant. But they've never done an initiative before. They've never even heard of it before. They've never even approached someone to collect signatures before. They've never even heard of the California Secretary of State office. And so we have to do a lot of training and a lot of concepts to people who have no education in this, but passion. What
Yeah.
that means is that there's a lot of people out there collecting signatures, but they may not be as diligent at making sure the signatures match the voter registration, or the address is exactly the same one, or there's not multiple counties on the page, or they didn't fill up the box next to the right. Little mistakes you wouldn't think of because this is your first time jumping into it. I mean, when I jumped into politics 12 years ago, I made all sorts of mistakes. It wasn't because I wanted to, it's because there's a whole lot to learn, and they don't teach this in high school. You jump in and then you learn on the ground. So we could tell everybody, hey, let's go for it. And then we could tell everybody, hey, we met the qualification and we turned the numbers in. What we were terrified of was that 2 weeks later, the California government would go, okay, you turned in 550 signatures and we invalidated half of them. Tough.
Mm.
And then we'd have to tell everybody, you collected the signatures, you turned them in, and it still didn't matter. And that would be a tough sell. So what we figured was refile. And now that we have everything organized, we can guarantee a win, and we're set up to actually collect the money to hire the professional signature gatherers, and we could go for a win. It was a tough call. We thought maybe we could win, but we were like, okay, you tell people we're winning, and then the government goes, we invalidated 200,000 and you didn't win. People are going to think, why am I even playing this game? When technically that's kind of the way that it's been. So we thought it would be better to be upfront with people, tell them we're going to refile and do this the right way and guarantee the win.
Yeah.
That's the thinking. And it was not an easy call.
Yeah. I understand. I get it. I personally, I was very careful when I gathered signatures to follow all the rules. Um, and I did find out towards the end that I could turn them into my local secretary, registrar of voters. And what they did, or what they said they would do, is mail them to you. So even though they're all San Mateo County, they're going to
Yeah.
come back here, but
Yeah.
they all have to go to you first.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
another issue was that the signature proponent has to be the one to turn in the signatures for every county they're turned in, or has to sign a form that designates the person as the person who could distribute that. We were gearing up to do that 2 half months ago, and then we made the decision of I didn't, I'm the spokesperson. I didn't want to be in the position where I could tell people we turned in all the signatures, we met their threshold, and it still didn't matter.
Yeah.
And then explaining to people, well, this is California law. Don't be depressed. Don't be upset. This happens. We'll try again. People who don't know this stuff are, there's a lot of lack of trust in the government. There's a
Yeah.
lot of lack of trust in government systems, and there's a lot of lack of trust in things people don't understand. And we thought the system does work. It's just really, really hard to do. We don't want our base thinking this is all for naught and garbage and a fake system. So we thought better to have the not awesome news and say it up front, direct to everybody, and be honest with them about what's going on, and then be honest about how we have a guaranteed plan to win in the future, rather than telling people, it's going to be a Hail Mary pass. Like, we think we can make it if we could just launch the football far enough. And you're like, what if it doesn't get to the end zone?
Yeah.
You just told everybody we're going to win, and then now you're telling them it doesn't work. Now you're going to have to explain that. I go, that's a losing strategy. So we decided we're going to refile. We think that the signatures already collected can be applied to this future one.
Oh,
We
I
won't
hope
know.
so. I hope
I'm
so.
hoping so too. We won't know until we submit them around August 2nd to August 10th to the Secretary of State and to the ATG office. They have the ability to interpret California law as they see fit. The initiative law is not well understood. There isn't many court cases on it, so they have a wide range of interpretation. We're going to be arguing that you should allow previous signatures because the petition we refiled is exactly the same. It's exactly the same and not different. We
I,
won't know until we get a response from them what that answer is.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Chat?
Yeah. So what we're talking
Oh,
about is
sorry, I couldn't find the link.
all
Yeah.
good. All good. Thanks for coming. I'm sorry we haven't had one sooner. I finally got permission to start talking to the public again. Um, we're going to refile. And the reason that we're going to refile was that we weren't sure that we could survive the audit process. We thought we could get 550 or the amount of signatures that we needed by the deadline. The problem was is that not everybody was a professional signature gatherer. So most of the people that we were working with, we were teaching them about the initiative process and collecting signatures and how to fill it out correctly. I feel like I need a pet now too.
No.
Anyways, I have the California bear. So I'm
Yeah.
anyways, wow, those cat. I better get this right.
It's a dog.
Well,
Oh,
th-
no, but Kristen
this
has
one's
a
a
cat,
cat.
and the
Oh,
cat's
there's
always
a cat.
staring
Oh,
right
sorry.
at me, and that freaks me out a little bit.
No,
That's
but
with the deep
we
state.
turned them all in. Why do you think he wouldn't survive the
Sure,
audit process?
sure. So you need about the total. I'm just going to go with 550 because I've been doing interviews for 8 hours straight. Brain's a little bit fried. So you need 550. We turn in 550. Here's the problem. Everybody is a volunteer.
Yeah,
So every initiative process that has been accepted hired paid signature gatherers. That goes back to the early 1980s. Nobody's filed an initiative without spending $1 to $3 million to hire paid signature gatherers to collect at least some of the signatures for the last 35 years. Hasn't happened. So when we started this, our goal was to get volunteer signature gathering and raise $1 to $3 million to hire professional signature gatherers so that we would have the 550 plus an additional 250 so that when we went in and they say the minimum required is 550, we would come in with 750.
Mm.
So we would survive any audit. Our fear was that we could tell people, and I made this decision about a month and a half ago, let's go for it. Hail Mary pass. Not sure we'll make it, but turn it in. We think we got all the numbers. And then it comes out we did turn in 550,000 signatures. But then 2 weeks later, the California government goes, well, this signature didn't match this. The address didn't match that. It was missing an avenue
sure.
on the word. It had multiple counties. And so we removed half of your signatures. Then we'd be in the position where I'd have to go, I know I told you we turned them all in. I know I told you we had them all. And now I have to tell you they just dismissed half of them and it didn't work. And then
But
we
we
thought,
knew that might happen. Everybody I talked to, I said, you have to write your name legibly. You can sign it however you want, but it has to be legible. I mean, I was like a real. So,
yeah,
and I even went back and like if they didn't circle, make sure the O was circle. I mean, I was really careful, but
yeah.
but you were just afraid that would happen because we didn't
Well,
know if that would happen.
so I've talked to about 300 people about filing the petition.
Mhm.
You two are two out of the top 20 most diligent. There's about 280 people who did not have your level of diligence and had nothing but enthusiasm. And they didn't really want to spend a lot of time listening to me say rules and rules. They wanted to get out there and get some signatures and do this right now, damn it. And so we're like, hey, watch this 15-minute video. Yeah, I'll get to it. Hey, listen to me. Yeah, 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 okay, yeah, I got you, Mark. Okay, I'm going. Bye. Those are the people that are going to make mistakes, not because they want to, but because they don't have the patience to listen to a legal process they've never heard of before. Not everybody was willing to be as diligent and watch the training and go through it. I mean, you two came to multiple meetings and you asked multiple questions, so I knew you would definitely get it. There's about 280 people who didn't do that. They were like, give me the petition. I'm collecting signatures. Look at all the signatures I've got. And I didn't want to defeat their
Right,
enthusiasm
right.
because as I was telling Kristen, yes, we need the signatures, but being seen, talking to people in public. If I go to the grocery store and I walk out of the grocery store and some random person's talking about CalExit, that convinces me everybody's talking about it. If I go to my church and another random person talks about it, if I go to my school. And so having people just being seen collecting signatures everywhere made this thought that everybody's talking about this.
Mhm.
And that increased the amount of emails we get. When people were collecting signatures, we would get new emails coming in from people going, my neighbor talked about this. My school, someone they never expected, my dog sitter, right? The guy I get coffee from
Yeah,
mentioned something.
I asked everybody.
Well, and that's winning. So what happens is called the second idiot concept. I'm or the bandwagon effect. There's basically a video online, uh, real short story. There's a video of a bunch of people at a concert, and they're just sitting there. All of a sudden, one guy gets up and he starts dancing to the concert. And he's not a really good dancer. He's just kind of doing it. And everybody looks at him like, you're a weirdo for 20 minutes. Then one and only one additional person stands up, not even near him, starts dancing. Within 5 minutes, half the crowd's dancing.
Yeah.
So when one guy, no. The moment they see a second random person, this is how we're a herd animal. Everybody goes, oh, must be okay. So that's why the signatures and being seen collecting is so critically important.
So
And
my question is, so did you guys, what happened? Like I couldn't reach anybody the week, I knew it was due the 22nd. So about 2 weeks before I started reaching out and saying, because somebody said, no, we want to deliver them personally. Couldn't reach anybody. So I finally just mailed them. And I had to check, I did it with a tracker and stuff. So I have to check to see if it got delivered. I'm assuming it did. So there are some signatures there that they are going to look at, correct? They're going to look at anything we turned in.
so some
No.
people have um, some county voter registrar offices have agreed to send me those signatures so that I could send them in, which is the legally correct way. I would need to talk to that office. So technically, you could send them in directly, but they would need to redirect them to me so that I could send them in under California law, or I have to designate somebody to turn them in. I've
So
talked about
why can't anybody I mean, every single person who collects it has to go through who?
me.
Through Marcus. Yeah.
But why? I mean, like, is there a law that says you
Yep.
have to designate
Yep.
somebody?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
It's
So if you type in California Initiative Guidebook, there's a 2025 Initiative Guidebook. It's about 75 pages long. It lists all the regulations for the Initiative Guidebook. By the way, like we were saying when we first got started here a few months ago, the California government does not like the initiative process
Right.
and does not want anybody to know it. And over the last 10 years, they've raised the filing fee, elongated the paperwork process, shortened the time to collect signatures, done everything to make it as difficult, cumbersome as possible. And so a lot of the questions of why do you have to do that asinine rule? Because the legislature put it in there so that people like us couldn't win.
So when I was contacting everybody, I could have easily mailed it to you,
Yes,
but I unfortunately didn't get a
yes.
response.
I was not allowed to do public meetings until this week. So we have been building the corporation, and I had been telling people we need to do public meetings. I need to be getting mass emails out. And the strategic thinking was, and I didn't always agree with it, but I went along with it, was we're building a corporation. We're restarting. We're trying to get it started right with a professional CEO, CFO, publicist, political director, social media director, 501c3 filage, LLC filage. And one of the things that we kept being told was if you're really going to build an organization that gets respect from politicians and donors and media scrutiny, you don't want bad things being said on social media that create an awkward moment and then you have to go clean that up. And so there was what I would call paranoia. I'm where you're at. I thought it was paranoia, but the attitude was we're not doing meetings. We're not talking to people. We're not posting so that we don't have to deal with any bad negative coverage while we're getting this baby born and out of the womb. And
So are
so,
we, so if we, okay. So,
mhm,
so is this still going to happen? Are you still trying to get it so it'll be on ballot this year? Or are you going to now do it
yes.
for next year?
So the initiative text will be exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about events into the future, we can file the exact same text again. Because we're able to do that, we think we have an argument that the petitions we've already collected will be valid. I cannot get an answer or definitive answer, and nobody can answer that definitively until the California Attorney General and the California Secretary of State see our refiling and make a ruling on that. Because there isn't many laws related to the California initiative process, they have a wide interpretive range. So we're going to be refiling between August 2nd to August 10th. The deadline's August 12th. I won't know until they respond to me if they're going to be okay with my claim. I think we have a strong claim because it's exactly the same text, but I have to go with what they say, and I won't know until we get the $2,000 collected, refile, and that won't be until at least August 2nd.
Okay, and then, but then when would be, so let's say they say, no, you can't use the old, you have to get new ones.
Then we have to get new ones,
But you
unfortunately.
won't be able to do it in the before, I mean, when will their deadline be? Because,
So, yeah, so we would restart. We think if we file in August, we estimate that it would take about a month for them to approve. They have up to 50 days.
oh,
However, hold on. Last time, we filed this about 4 or 5 times over the last 10 years. They
uh-huh.
typically, when we first filed, they took 3 months to approve it. This time we filed 4 months ago, they took 2 weeks to approve it. So while they have 50 days, there's a huge range of how much time. And I can't say why. I can just say when we first filed it and they thought we were bat blank crazy, they took a full 3 months. Now they take only 2 weeks to approve it. So we guess a month, in which case we're back in action September 1st.
And then when do they need the petitions by to
So
get,
it'd
because they're
be
going to
5
start
months from
printing the
this.
ballots, you know, at
Yeah,
some
so
point.
September, October, November, December, it'd be about January. And then we would be able to make the 2016 election in time. So because we're doing this so early and the next election's in 2016, we can refile the same text of the same initiative and it still works.
Okay, so we're not trying anymore to get it on the ballot in 3 months in November.
We're going to retry starting in September 1st. We're going to hope that the signatures collected can be used then. And regardless if they can or can't, we will be relaunching the whole campaign. And this time we will be doing it with a publicist and a media director and money in our pocket so that we can actually have the kind of publicity campaign we've always wanted.
Okay, but so if they say that the petitions that they already got, then we're still going to try to get more because we want that overlap.
Yep.
We want to have the 250
Yep.
extra or whatever.
Yep. And
Okay,
we're close to being able to raise the money for the professional signature gatherers. We've launched a PAC. We're close to launching a PAC commercial. We've also launched 3 different funding agencies, and we've started reaching out to high-level Democrats who are now talking with us. The crazy thing is that people wouldn't spit on me if I was struck by lightning the last 10 years. When Donald Trump sent in the Marines,
Yeah.
people in the California government started calling us for the first time in a freaking decade. So I cannot tell you the amount of sea change that happened the moment they saw Marines coming in, because we went to the California Democratic Party convention. This is in the mass email I sent to everybody.
Yes, yes.
We met everybody, and we told them there's a monster. Monsters are real. Monsters are real. All the rumors you heard are lies. They're real. By the way, one's going to come to your neighborhood, and there's nothing you can do to protect yourself. It'll eat your dogs, your cats, everything. Can't help yourself. Nobody was talking about monsters being real or that they were coming at the California Democratic Party convention.
God, what is wrong with
So hold on. So then a week goes by. We don't hear anything from them. By the way, everybody at the CADM convention was willing to talk to us except for Eleni Koulounakis. So we talked to 30, 40 legislators. Nobody pushed us away. They didn't endorse us, but they did say, go on, tell me more. They know, they have eyeballs. They know what's up. So Eleni was the only one to go, I can't be seen with secessionists, and then walked off. Nobody did this. Yeah, it's on video.
I'll remember that.
Like that. She would, but the thing is that she was the only one. Out of 30 to 40 people, she was the only one that goes, I can't be seen with secessionists. I'm an elected official, and walked off. 39 other people didn't do that at all. I got hugs from Betty Yee. She said, keep doing your work. So that was Eleni, and 39 other people did not do that. We passed out flyers. We passed about 500 flyers. The second day we were running into people saying, I already heard about you. And in the mass email, there's a picture of me with a Caucasian woman with a white shirt and blue shawl. She had never heard of CalExit. I convinced her in 2 minutes. Hardcore backer.
Yeah.
That's the kind of people we met at the Dem convention. They
were they signing petitions? Did people sign petitions?
Some.
Yeah,
Some.
because I have a shirt that says "Ask me about CalExit now."
Exactly.
And it has on both sides, and I take all the demonstrations I go to, and I go to a lot of them. And so people will come up to me, and I have a handout that I made that just says what the thing says, what the next step is, and why, and a map of the world that has economies greater than California, anyway. And people would sometimes find me later in that demonstration, and sign it. But most people, I ran into way too many people who are just not upset enough about what's going on. But I also feel like if they voted like last week, maybe now the whole Epstein thing is coming up, but like a week ago, I swear to God, if they had gone to Congress and said, let us succeed, they would have voted for it.
Oh
They
yeah,
would have said, let's
Republicans
get
hate
rid of
us.
California. Let's get rid of their votes. Forget California. I felt like, oh my God, this is when we should have the election.
This is, I mean, it's the best time. I've been at this for 10 years. And the reason that I say that is when we started in 2014. Can I tell you about the story? Is that okay? Real quick
Yeah,
story.
we've heard, yeah.
Okay. In 2014, I wrote the book and then we went to protest in Sacramento. And we said California is more like a nation state. Everybody laughed in our face. We had posters. We were in front of the Sacramento Capitol. We were there all day. People would walk and go, ah, ha, 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 ha. Gavin Newsom calls us a nation state every other month. Nobody laughs.
Yes. Oh
Every
my God,
politician
yes.
refers to us as a nation state. So I'm looking at this. When I was in 2014, elected officials and politicians would laugh in my face. Now those same people all use the same phrase. So we went from that's stupid, Mark, to actually I do that myself.
Yeah.
Then in 2016, 2015, we were told this will never get traction. This is a radical, crazy idea. It'll never get traction. And then in 2016, Trump got elected. We had 32% or 15 million people saying they wanted immediate secession, not talk out tomorrow. The news would not report that there was an additional 15.5% who were not opposed to discussing it, which means it was actually 47 to 48% of Californians were not opposed to secession in 2017. The news will not print that, even though that's in the byline of Stanford and Reuters. They will only print 32%. So they can make you think it was 2/3 against.
Yeah.
Not true.
Yeah.
We were damn near half. Also, the survey by Stanford and Reuters overcounted elderly Caucasian women and undercounted young Latino men, which means it's actually 54% of California was open to discussing secession in 2017. Now, after those surveys came out, everybody stopped talking about how this will never get legs, right? I was laughed at in 2015. This will never get, now after 2016. I remember I went to Thanksgiving with my family and they'd always ridicule me. Dead silence. Not a word from anybody about anything. They're like, oh my God, he's right. Then let's fast forward to this year. In 2016, CalExit said this is Trump is America. He represents the majority of American states and a majority of American people. They like him. They like his chauvinism, his xenophobia, his sexism. This is who the country is. And because he's at the federal level, there's nothing you can do to protect yourself. No, I don't agree. Wrong. No one would hear that. No reporter, no politician. No, no, no. Russia put him in. A minority of people put him in. He's a fluke. Republicans are going to realize he's wrong. They'll turn on him. MAGA will go down. The federal government will put him in trial. I was here and I was in 2016. I knew the most hardcore radicals. And for the next 4 years, that's all I heard.
Yeah.
All of those predictions failed. Total and complete failure for every single prediction. Nobody in 2016 wanted to hear that. We were the only people saying, this is Trump's America. This is who you're tied to. Federalism can't protect you, and he's not going to go away. It's going to get worse. Your guys are wrong. Now in 2024, everybody's saying that. It took us from 2016 to 2024 to get all the politicians and all the newspaper reporters to finally acknowledge what we were saying in 2016.
Well, I think
This is country.
I think the evidence is so clear this time. He's basically what they said. He's ignoring like a third to a half of all the court decisions. He's just ignoring it. I've seen interviews where they say, "Oh no, we're doing that," but yet we can see with our own eyes because people have cell phones now, and they're not doing that. They're still going to restaurants and arresting everybody who's brown. Like it's just. And I live in LA, so I'm like,
you've seen it.
An occupied city, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just, people like there'll be calls out, go to this intersection now. And people just pour into the street and scream at these guys, and they can't block them. but man, they're throwing rocks at them and stuff. I mean, honest to God. So I feel like now people see that. And so I stopped collecting signatures about 2 weeks ago because I was getting ready I was like, the deadline's coming. I've got to get these to the registrar. But, so, okay, so when will we hear? We don't do anything now. We're not going to use the old petitions, right? The ones
We
that we've already,
might, I won't know till August 2nd to August 10th.
okay,
The
okay,
Secretary of State and the California Attorney General respond
okay,
after I've refiled the petition and put in the check.
okay. So
I
we don't do
just,
anything until we hear.
well, like I told Kristen, so you can't tell people the signatures are definitely going to go to something. But again, every time anybody's out in public collecting signatures, it's a win. I get emails all the time, and people were saying, I saw someone mention this at the grocery store, my school's daycare, the pet groomers. The more random place that people hear it,
Mhm.
the more that second idiot effect. Going to go, oh, hold on, I'm at my dog groomers. What? People are talking about this here? Oh my God, it must be everywhere. So that's still a benefit if you want to do it. I can't guarantee you that those signatures will legally qualify.
Right, right.
So,
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I hear, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I hear from people in the argument or discussion is they are afraid. They are afraid that if this petition should, get our 55% positive in the California election, they are afraid that Trump is going to send the troops in and take over Sacramento by force. And then we become really a vassal state and we'll be in much worse position. And this is a palpable fear a lot of people have, especially seeing what's happening in LA.
Yeah. So I hear that, but I read it totally different. So for two reasons. One, Trump hates us. The Republican Party hates us. Like I told everybody, let's just go over it. Palisades fire. People are dead. They're dying. They're homeless. They're destitute. He says, I'm not sure I want to give disaster assistance because I'm not sure I like you guys. That's never happened in U.S. history. That's a fact. Then we have the protest. He sends the National Guard against our own people, against the will of the governor and the people. That hasn't happened since, I think, 1954 in Eisenhower. Then he takes the first Latino senator and has him thrown to the ground like a dog. Then he threatens to arrest the governor. Um, and the thing that got me was there was no Republican protest ever for any one of those things. There was no
Yeah.
Republicans when he did that to us with the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire. There was no Republicans when they sent Marines in. And when he sent, I'm going to send angry Marines. Remember, he advertised, I'm sending angry Marines in. Why would you say that? These are combat trained Marines out of 29 Palms. They're designed to kill tough armies in foreign countries through maximum use of violence, and you're going to use them to quell a domestic protest. Highly inappropriate. And so people saw all that. And when I just add the fact that LA Times did a survey, 48% of Republicans across America view you, Kristen, and you, Ms. Wong, as not American because you're Californian. 48%. Now, that survey included some Californians in it, which means if we're looking at people strictly outside of California, we're talking about over half of the Republicans view none of
And
us
that's an
as fellow
old,
Americans.
that's an old survey,
No,
but
that's only 8 months old.
that's still old, right? That's been all the stuff all that shit that's happened in the last 6
Oh,
months.
yeah.
So
Yes,
now, I
yes.
mean, I hear, um, I've heard him, talk about, when I try not to hear his voice even, but I try to listen to what he says about California, and he's much more blatant now about how he doesn't like California and they deserve this. And then the courts are upholding that he can take over the National Guard. I mean, like the courts aren't going to save us. And so the people are like, oh no, we can't leave the country. I'm like, why? You have seen with your own eyes that the courts are upholding his shit. The courts are doing that. And the Congress, I mean, they'll vote against, like there was somebody brought up a bill that you can't deport American citizens. And the Republicans voted it down.
Yeah, I saw
I mean,
that.
like where are you going to deport an American citizen to? Oh,
Well,
worst country in the world that you can think of. That's what you do. These guys wake up in the morning and decide how they can, fuel their sadistic urges. I mean, it's worse than
and the court backs them. And the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land that we all have to obey the legal orders of, backs them. Recently, they said there can be no state challenges to any of the crazy stuff that Donald Trump does. That was an agency or an ability to push back that goes back to 1779. It has been wiped out by the Supreme Court in the last month. So things that were available to Americans for centuries are now gone. And yet, yeah, you're right. There's still some people who don't see it. But for every person there, there's people like this guy. I don't know. He just came out with a video 2 weeks ago. Time to secede. Time to get out. It's horrible. I've never met him before. Don't know who he is. 50,000, 60,000 followers. This video has 67,000 viewers. Oh, his podcast has 460,000 followers.
So
Now,
does he reference CalExitNow? I
I
mean, it's
haven't watched the
one thing
video.
to say that, but if you want to actually do it, you have to, organize and do
True,
it. So,
true. I haven't watched the video. I found out about this right before the show. I'm just saying that for every person that you meet who doesn't get it, there's another person who you've never met who hardcore gets it and is saying it all on their own. We
well, you
just
know what else I've noticed? A lot more California flags, Republic of California flags. And I've really noticed it. Like I've taken photos of them. I got one, I put it up. And, so when somebody said to me, do you think, should we go to those houses and knock on the door and say, have you signed this petition? Because I'm wondering if, and so I visited my daughter in Canada in May. I actually looked at senior housing there and looked into all that stuff. And I'm still actually working on that. But everybody had Canadian flags out. And I visited her many times. She's been there for 15 years. And you cannot imagine
Mhm.
what it's like there, as far as like she has she said, I've never put a flag up in my life. And everybody has Canadian flags. And I started noticing more and more people have California flags. So that's something I made this little mental note. Okay, if we, maybe that's where we should, knock on their doors and, why did they put that up? Like what possessed them to put that up? And part of it is this pride in California, like all these videos of these people, coming out into the street and screaming, shame, shame, shame at these, like that, it makes you very proud to be a Californian, So I don't know if it's just that or, they're like, because to me, I'm like, we need to get out of here, like.
They're seeing the same thing the Canadians are. So I know a lot of Canadians. I've known them for years. Being proud about being Canadian was like, they were happy to be Canadians,
Right,
but
right.
they weren't like, yeah, we're Canadian. That's changed in the last 2 months. They're
Yes.
hardcore. And it was because somebody said you all suck and are bad people.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to galvanize a group to go, whoa, 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 whoa. We were fine being a junior partner, but you're going to insult us and step on our neck. Okay, well, now we're going to fight back.
And
Okay.
they also wrecked, the economy. One of the things my daughter said is she says, you have to realize that the economy has suffered, the Canadian economy. Now, I think now when Trump threatens a tariff, a lot of people are like, ho hum, because, he doesn't necessarily follow through, right?
Right.
But in the beginning, people were freaked out and,
Yeah.
and of course there are people that aren't, getting their goods. They're sitting on a dock because they can't afford it now because of the tariffs. So, it's a mess and we're all going to apparently start seeing more shortages and stuff. But, in Canada, like, man, they are, and the whole 51st state thing as if.
That's why. I mean, he insulted their leader unnecessarily. I understand people play hardball, but he went out of his way to just insult the
No,
guy up front. And
he,
then he insulted all of them, saying you're going to be a 51st state without even asking them. So, Denmark had the same reaction. California has the same reaction. Uh, there sometimes a people can be formed by pressure from the outside. There was a
yeah,
group called the Jews and the Pharaoh of Egypt. Historians think that was actually 12 different tribes, but they became one because they were hated on by this evil Egyptian pharaoh, and they kind of gelled into this. We're a people. African Americans came from many different African tribes, but today there's a cohesive African American identity. Sure, there's controversy, but why? Because they had to be called bad people for 400 years. That kind of forced them to come up with an identity. Same thing, well, not so much indigenous, but you can see where external pressure somehow activates pride, and people go, oh my God, we are a people. And you know what? It's not okay for you to talk trash on us. And we're not bad people. We were just living, and you're trying to attack us. Well, you know what? I wasn't going to do it, but if you're going to attack us, I'm going to attack you back. That's very human. And so you're right. This is why we say it's the best time. It's super obvious. And I know you're running into people who aren't seeing it, but I'm telling you, there's people seeing it every day, and it's more obvious every day. That's why
Well,
it's the
I'm
best time.
wondering, some of the people who wouldn't sign like 2 months ago, um,
Uh-huh.
and I did get back to many of them, but didn't get a chance. Like 2 weeks ago, I'm like, okay, I'm getting back to everyone who said they weren't sure. And some of them signed and some of them said, no, I'm still
Hmm.
not sure. But there's more people that I just, couldn't even remember who they were, kind of thing. So
There's
But
a
you
maybe
don't,
now
but,
they would.
but you guys don't think that Trump would send in the troops
Oh,
because
oh, I'm
he,
sorry. Let
Oh
me address
yeah,
that.
I
Yeah,
think he
let
would.
me
He would
let me
he would love it. He would
because
love it.
because he would say it's a rebellion and he has the right to put down a rebellion.
So, a couple things. One, what we're doing is not a rebellion. There's no legal basis for that at all. No lawyer would back that up. I know he has some crazies who could do it. Everything we're doing is through the legal democratic process. A rebellion is when you overthrow the system of government or operate outside of it. A terrorist action is when you try to convince people of political means, political decisions without using the political process. We're using the political process enshrined in the Constitution and the California Constitution. So there's nothing illegal, rebellious, terrorist at all in any way for what we're doing. Four separate California attorney generals have acknowledged, including Kamala Harris, Rob Bonta, and others, that what we're doing is completely legal. Also, Erwin Chemerinsky is the top constitutional scholar in America, has argued in front of the Supreme Court, started two UC law schools, and says this is completely legal and all we need is a majority vote of Congress. So
But
we're
that doesn't mean that he won't send in troops. That is
true.
And
So
I
let me,
can't,
Yeah.
you can, I in the bottom of my handout, it says that all signatures are confidential, that
mhm.
they're protected, nobody can get them. But again, it doesn't mean that somebody won't hack it. I mean, you can't guarantee those things.
Yeah.
And I, yes, they could.
I
And
think
that
we
I have
can.
people who are afraid to do
And
it.
yeah, people are afraid, Marcus. Yeah.
I get the calls all the day. People are terrified. You're absolutely right. Let me address each question in order. So first off, it's private. They couldn't get access to it. Nobody's ever got access to these initiative roles. Additionally, they're not electronic, they're paper. So there's a human eyeball certifying it. It's never actually put into a database. So somebody tracking down everybody signing this would be doing something that's never been done in
Right.
California history over the last 45 years. So I don't really view that as a real thing because it's not even possible and nobody's ever done it. Secondly, let's get to Trump sending in the troops. If Trump hates us and thinks that he lost the election because of us, and thinks that we're the people with Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi that made him go through two impeachment trials, why would he not want to get rid of us? Secondly, the Republican Party during his first term had an annual convention on how California's not like America. Additionally, if you watch Fox News, Breitbart, like I have to in the Central Valley, all they talk about is that we're a horrible place. There is no Republican politician, television show, official, anywhere in the last 30 years, in any election or any podcast, TV, radio station, who said nothing but horrible things about us. So my question to everybody is, if I say apples taste horrible for 30 years and I tell everybody that every day, I secretly believe apples are tasty? No, I actually believe they're horrible. And so, hey, California wants to leave. He's going to have a bunch of Republicans going, half of us hate that place anyways. They cause all of our problems. Trump let them go. Let me also remind you about Trump. He was the guy that pushed appeal abortion. Now he walked back about it once he realized that it wasn't good politically. But before Roe v. Wade was overturned, he was constantly saying, I alone can save the Christian America. You have been wronged by Roe v. Wade, and I alone can save you. And then he did do it, and nobody else did. He likes to be seen as a savior. He likes to be seen as a deal maker. He likes to be saying, I fixed this permanent problem for you. We're the biggest permanent problem the Republican Party has since the 90s.
Well,
But,
He
that's a
could
good
fix
way of
it.
but,
looking at it.
If I may finish, if I may finish, he could fix it and guarantee elections far into the future as they see it. So that's why we don't think they would do that. There's a lot of reason for them not to. There's a lot of push for them to want to get rid of us. Secondly, let's entertain the idea that he does send troops in. Okay. We'll be CalExiting within 1 week after that. So all those people you're saying they're not on board, they don't see it, that's gone. The moment he sends troops in, everybody you've talked to who says, I don't know, and maybe we could work, then that's all gone. All those people become supporters, and we're talking about a 600 to 700% increase in support. The reason that I know that is that 80% of the people that contact me say, I know this is illegal and it's unlikely, but I want to do it anyways. And then I have to spend half an hour telling them how it's completely legal. So if people actually knew this was legal, he sends troops in, everyone's going to be talking about CalExit. The moment they do, they're going to realize it's legal. The moment they realize it's legal, we get 600% for support. So if we're trying to get 557,000 signatures, we're looking at getting like 4 million without even trying. So he may do bad things. We're going to react, and it's not going to be the way that he likes. And when people see that it's come down to that, there will be no other option that anyone can consider except full-blown secession. And so if he wants to send the troops in, while I don't look at violence, you're telling me, hey, Mark, I can guarantee CalExit within 1 week. That's what I heard you say when you say that.
I mean, I agree.
This is
I mean,
played
I
out
think
in
it's
many places
already
in the world.
at that point myself. I'm at that point. So I
There was a
also
place
don't
called
care if
America.
it's-
Remember a place called America? Thing called the Boston Massacre? There was a guy called Benjamin Franklin. He's the guy that actually won the Revolutionary War by getting French support. America was never going to defeat the British Army until they got French munitions and French ships at the end of the war. That was because of his negotiating over 3 years. You never hear about him doing that. He was
Yeah.
a loyalist. He was hardcore for the English king for the first couple of years of the Revolution until the Boston Massacre. And then he saw people gunned down, and then a lot of the famous founding fathers, about half of them that you hear about today, joined. They were not there before the Boston Massacre. There was very divisive. The Boston Massacre guaranteed the revolution would win because it guaranteed twice as many revolutionary founding fathers. That is a fact of history.
Yep.
So why can't that play out again?
Well, because I don't think Trump and the MAGA people would want to give up California's resources. Okay?
I did an interview with Ireland, and same thing. If I say apples taste horrible for 3 decades, then one day I go, actually, when I said apples taste horrible for 3 decades, what I meant was they're really tasty. That doesn't work. So Fox News, Trump, the Republicans, the Republican Party, all politicians, all radio shows, all TV shows have said we're horrible at economics, we're horrible at taxes, we give extra money for children to mutilate themselves, we let undocumented immigrants get all sorts of free stuff, we spend all this extra money on climate change. My family watches this. I'm in the Central Valley, right? I don't get to get away from this. It's everywhere. So I've seen it my whole life. They've never said one thing that we do well about our economy or that we subsidize them ever. They've never said that we subsidize them. They've never said our economy runs well. All you ever hear is that we're horrible, and I can prove it. LA Times and San Francisco Chronicle had to do editorials out of exhaustion when the Republican-led Congress, for Trump's first term, had a session on the floor of Congress, televised, where they all said California is the welfare queen. And in fact, 35 Republican states fund us. It's the total opposite of the truth. There's no, exactly, Susan, there's no evidence for that. There's never been evidence for that ever. And yet every Republican Congress and Trump all said that. No one contradicted it, and they put it out on TV. And the LA Times and Chronicle were like, what bizarre, what are you getting this from? This is so insane. So when I hear people say, oh, they'll never let you go, and I go, sounds like you're talking about a person grounded by reason.
Yeah.
How does that person
I
match the
say.
description I just gave? You literally said you subsidize us. That's total garbage. You've literally said we're nothing but horrible when it's the exact opposite truth, and you can't ever give us a compliment about our economy, and you can't recognize we subsidized you for 3 decades. Show me the Republican who's ever ran for office in 30 years in any of the 50 states, or the Fox News host in 3 decades who's ever said, you know what, guys? California, for all their backwards liberal stuff, is actually better at economics than us to the point they subsidize us. We'd be nothing without them. I will pay you $1,000 if you can find anyone who said that in the last 30 years anywhere. By the way, you're not going to.
Yeah.
So my point is, if I say stupid stuff every day, like the sky's not blue, it's yellow. But I say it every day for 30 years to everyone. At some point, every psychologist in America will say, you must actually believe the sky's yellow when it's not. Otherwise, nobody would do that. And so the idea that you could say one thing and secretly mean another, that's just not how humans work. I have this debate all the time, and I go, show me the counter evidence. Show me where anyone's ever admitted the truth in that party. You can have 50 states, every election, every federal, state, local election. You can go back 3 decades. You'll find no one. So how do we know they know that? They're literally that dumb. I'm an ex-Republican. I know. They're literally that dumb. I left when Romney was becoming president because I knew they were going to be racist. I didn't like George W. Bush. I didn't like the Iraq War, but for all his faults, he had 50% of the Latino vote. And he got 10% of the African American vote because he was reaching out to them. For all of his faults, Bush W. was not a racist. Trump is.
Yeah.
And Romney dropped the Latin participation down to 10%. So it went to 50 to 10. His family's from Mexico. He has connections in Mexico, and he knows fluent Spanish. Wouldn't acknowledge any of it on the campaign trail. Why?
Who are you talking about? Sorry.
Mitt Romney.
Yes, Mitt Romney.
Has family in Mexico, speaks fluent
Yeah,
Spanish, has ties to Mexico, said absolutely nothing about it, spoke no Spanish, didn't talk to any Mexicans, and dropped the Republican percentage from 50 to 10%. What that told me is, we're going white supremacist, baby. We don't want you dirty brown-skinned people here. And if that means we have to lose elections, that's what we're going to do. Because that's what they did. I'm like, I was a Republican because we knew there was racism, but I thought at some point you guys are going to realize the country's half full of brown-skinned people, and you're going to have to be nice to them. You're gonna have to get this. And then Romney came, and I'm like, they're walking it back. My God, they're actually walking back from a diverse America, and they're willing to lose the race 2 elections in a row. And that was before we ever heard of Trump. I saw the writing on the wall. And so when I see people go, these are Republicans, they got to be logical. I go, based on what? They can't accept minorities, so they want to lose elections? How's that smart? My other favorite one is, the people in California who voted the most for Trump are here in the Central Valley. Trump's going to cut Obamacare. Guess what part of California is most dependent on Obamacare? The Central Valley.
Wow.
Guess who voted the highest for Trump? The Central Valley. So you want to make yourself destitute and poor, and I'm supposed to believe you have logic?
They also, a lot of people who have insurance through Obamacare, they say, no, I have it through the Affordable Care Act. Like, I'm not kidding. That's what they'll say. And you're like, they're ending the subsidies at the end of this year.
The big, beautiful bill is going to cut Medicaid and food assistance. The Deep South is exceptionally dependent on Medicaid and exceptionally dependent on food assistance, and had an exceptionally high support level for Trump, and they're going to get pounded the worst. So I see
Part of the stuff isn't
voting
going
for
to be
things that
cut
screw them over.
until,
And I'm going, how are you logical about money when you keep voting for ways where you destroy yourself financially? And how are you logical when you can literally say the opposite of the truth? California's a welfare queen? That's never been true. And yet you can go out there and say it with a straight face with all of you lined up on the floor of Congress and Trump and Fox News, and nobody contradicts that. Maybe because you're all crazy.
well, I think a lot of the Medicaid cuts aren't starting until after the midterms.
It's still going to happen, and they're still going to get screwed, and they still can't
they
see it,
are.
and they still think
And-
it's great.
But the subsidies for so Obamacare worked because there were subsidies. So people could sign up and they didn't have to pay, $2,000 a month. Some of them only paid 10. The subsidies are going away in December. So people are going to drop out. And as a nurse, I know what it was like to practice nursing before Obamacare. Sometimes I had 80% of my patients who weren't insured. And then after, by the time I retired, 100% of my patients were insured because it's so easy to get it in California and they help you. And, but I mean, that's gonna happen very quickly. That, I mean, so, you know, you
How many
wanted,
people on Fox News are pointing that out?
I'm sorry?
Millions of Republicans are going to be seriously hurt by Medicaid cuts,
Yeah,
SNAP cuts, and healthcare cuts.
yeah,
Tell me how often Fox News is mentioning that to their viewers.
I don't watch Fox News, so
I
yeah. I
do.
do
They
not
don't
watch
say it
Fox
at
News.
all.
I do not know, but I'm
So,
assuming no. They're gonna go, who
right.
knows?
So their people are getting screwed over. Two-thirds of their viewing base is going to get screwed over through their own will, and Fox is never going to inform them of that. That's a
Yeah,
fact. So
yeah.
again, where does the concept that these are logical thinking people come from when they continue to do things that are self-destructive and ruinous for the economy? Let's also go another one. This is the same group of people who did January 6th uh, and then walked back their condemnation.
Yeah.
I was shocked by January 6th. I was three times more shocked when they walked back the condemnation of storming the Capitol. The entire party did, and Trump, and no one contradicted that.
Yeah.
It was clearly an insurrection. Nah, bro, it's just some dudes having a barbecue. Chill out. I'm like, you're walking back your condemnation.
Yeah.
That's madness. That is pure madness.
Yeah. And everything's
Nothing
on
but
video.
pure madness.
So you can see that
It's an
they,
insane cult.
yeah, you know, people, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like if they contradict themselves 100, you know, completely, it doesn't seem to bother them, you know, like it's just, I can't understand it. I can't.
so
It's
so
identity politics.
here's another argument I get
Yeah, yeah, please.
from my son and daughter-in-law who are millennials, okay,
Have them call
younger
me.
generation. They are very much opposed to CalExit. And when we discuss it, they say they have a lot of friends who live in other blue states, and
Mhm.
they don't want to leave their friends doomed to being ruled by Republicans and MAGA for the rest of their lives if California pulls out.
Yeah,
That's why they would never vote for CalExit.
That's,
yeah.
but see, that's the other thing. When, when we lose, when, let's say we pull out and we have, I think, 52 electoral college votes and 54, you know, 2 senators and 52 representatives. Okay. So then it just gets redistributed because there's always going to be 438 representatives. And if you take, so they're going to just redistrict the whole country. So all those 49 states will get redistricted. And there's no guarantee that when you redistrict it, if they do it fairly, which is probably not something to
Yeah,
expect.
how are they going to decide who gets how
Well,
many
it's a
votes?
standard process that goes back
Yeah,
200 years.
yeah.
They do this
Every
every 10
census
years
they
with the
do it.
US Census. So they've done this about 75 times. It's a very standard process. It happened
Yeah.
2 years ago without incident, and the Republicans and the Democrats both accepted it.
It's fine. Yeah.
This
So
goes
right
on for a while.
now, every congressperson has about 600,000 constituents, right?
In Cali.
So if they take out California, they'll have to just recalculate, but they recalculate so it's about even. It's
So
not
they
proportional.
recalculate and they redistribute, or they just cut them out. The thing here that why I've heard this argument, but the reason why it's not true is based upon what Susan said. So if you look at the 11 most populous states, California is number one. And then if you look at the 10 most populous states after that, it's half Republican, half blue.
They think it's
So
about even,
yeah,
actually.
so the redistribution would be a wash.
Yeah.
Half of our votes would go to red states and half would go to blue, and you'd still be stuck with half blue, half red. Secondly, name the last presidential election where they counted the California votes before they said who's president. You two have been around a while. Tell me the last
Yeah.
election where they said we counted the California votes before they said who's president. When was that happen? When did that happen last time?
Trying to think. 1960, maybe.
So do
Why?
you mean because we're on the West Coast, we're in the late time zone?
Right. So
Um,
they'll predict.
Is that what you mean? They
well, there's a variety of reasons. I think it's because we're not really respected, but you got to go back to Reagan is the answer. And I think the question here was anybody who watches this, you two have been around for a while. I'm not saying that to say anything, but you both had to struggle to guess the last time. I saw both you go, oh, well, The
Yeah.
last time our vote swung
When
an
was it
election,
close?
see,
Yeah.
whoa, let me see. Um, California voted against Trump in 2016, did nothing. California voted against Trump in 24, did nothing. California voted against Trump in 2020. Biden won by 2%. And while they were celebrating here in America, if you watched German news, they were freaking out. They said, Biden and Democrats, you said there'd be a repudiation of Trump. 2 percentage points is not a repudiation.
Yeah.
75 points is. So while Biden was celebrating biggest election and we're turning this, nobody in Europe or the rest of the planet was celebrating with us. Everybody was like, you guys totally failed in 2020 to repudiate Trump. Biden won 52%. That's not a repudiation. So California had no impact in 2016, 2020, 2024, nor has it had an impact on the presidential election for the last 45 years. So when I hear people say, oh, you leave, you're going to abandon us, we've been here and it did nothing. So where does the idea come from that if we leave, it's going to suddenly how be different? We
Yeah.
were here. It did not stop Trump in 3 different elections. Basically, it also did not stop MAGA taking over, or the Supreme Court becoming more conservative, or Roe v. Wade being overturned, or the Congress turning full Republican, where the Republicans now own 4 branches of government, something they've never seen since the 1920s. A lot of people are not recognizing that the Republicans have more power they've had in a century. You got to go back to the 20s when they owned the presidency, the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court. They've never had that much
And
influence
they
over
people
a
are
century.
talking about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, a
I
lot
hear
of people are
that.
still going,
Yeah.
next election, midterms, we'll switch it. And I go, they'll still have the Supreme Court and the presidency and the Senate. They've been this powerful in a century. Where are we getting this idea that we didn't stop that. We fought tooth and nail and we couldn't stop January 6th. We couldn't stop Trump's popularity going up. We couldn't stop the Republicans gaining more power than they've had in a century. We couldn't stop him being elected in 2 different elections. So where the hell does this idea come from and what is it based on?
Yes.
Well,
I lived in a lot of places and I have a lot of
I
friends.
hear this, but I'm like, show me the facts where this is
Yeah.
based on something. What I'm hearing is a lot of people have problems with CalExit based upon pure fear and not doing their homework. And I'm not criticizing them, but it's not true. Like people say, well, this isn't legal. Yes, it is. Well, Republicans wouldn't let you leave. Have you heard about the survey? No. Most people never heard about that survey. Did you hear about Palisades? No. Did you hear about the Marines being sent in? Yes, sort of. Did you put all 3 of those together? No. So this is why we say we're going to win. There is no argument that anyone can defeat. I've done about 1,000 debates. No one defeats me. People get pissed off and leave. What people might do is go, I don't know, Mark, I got to go. And then they claim that I didn't win. If you storm off mad, you forfeit. In a sports game, that's called forfeiture,
Mhm.
and the win goes to the other team. So that's why we're pushing the blue ribbon panel. That's why we've realized that the initiative is one way to do it, but the blue ribbon panel is another. The blue ribbon panel does not make California have a vote to secede. It doesn't say we're going to secede. It's an official government investigation. But we think that the problem that you're talking about, Susan, would be completely destroyed by a blue ribbon panel. There was this country called Scotland. They were part of England for 500 years, half a millennia. Historians say it was the moment that they released the Common Commission, which was the government of Scotland's official report on secession, that you could date that they would be independent. So if you look over a 500-year history, Common Commission came out. They didn't have a vote for independence for 4 to 7 more years. But historians say it was the moment there was an official government report, because what that meant was everybody has to discuss this, and now everybody knows about it. And then everybody talked about it, and they won a vote, and 4 years later. We could do
but
it here.
That's what
but
I
but
emphasize when I talk about the petition. That's what I emphasize. I said,
That's what you
this is
should
starting the
emphasize.
conversation. You don't think we need to have this conversation? Are you looking around?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it took me 2 minutes to sell CalExit a year ago, takes me 30 seconds now. 2 minutes a year ago, 30 seconds now. All I have to do is they go, Mark, that's radical. That's extreme. And I go, you're telling me Marines being sent in, is everything working fine? "Oh, no. Okay, well then maybe we need to look for a radical solution. I'm sorry, if you had a golf ball sized tumor next to your front cortex and you went into the doctor, he's going to say, we're cutting you open tonight or tomorrow morning. That's radical. Cutting open my brain, surgery right away. Yeah, in radical bad situations, radical solutions are the only appropriate solutions. We have a golf ball sized tumor. We're either going to get rid of it or die on the operating table. That means we're
Well,
going to have to do some radical invasive surgery, and that is our only way out. So, yeah, you're right. It's radical. Are you not aware? Are you not watching TV? Like you said, Susan, all I have to say now is, did you watch TV? You're telling me I'm going to arrest the governor. I'm going to throw a Latino senator to the floor. I'm going to arrest the legislature. I'm sending the National Guard again against the will of the people. I'm sending the Marines in on them. I don't want to. I want to deny disaster assistance, and everything's working out okay, and I can feel safe. Nobody will say that with a straight face. No one. No one in California.
What were you going to
Time
say?
to sell
Sorry.
California.
so my son, who's a millennial, and my daughter-in-law, they fondly remember the years of Obama's presidency and administration,
Yeah.
and they think we're going to go back to that. They say this will change, and we'll take the Democrats will take back everything, and by 28, and
Sure.
we want to be part of that
Sure.
new birth of.
And they're only going to have 2 senators.
No.
Yeah,
By
there's
the way, people have been
there's
predicting that Obama was out, what, in 2016?
Yeah.
So it's 2024. So it's 8 years later. People have been predicting a resweep of Obama every election since.
Yeah.
There's been about 4 midterms. It's failed. The same people who said, oh, we'll get another election were the same ones who said, Trump's going to go away. Republicans are going to turn against him. He won't grow. Nobody predicted January 6th. Nobody predicted his popularity would go up after that. So when I hear people say one more election, I go, what is your logic based upon? Because you've been saying this was going to happen for a decade and it hasn't. You were the people who said he'll be repudiated. He'll be turned away. The system will get him. The system works. And you were completely wrong on all of those. You were the people who were caught off guard by January 6th. Like I said, 3 elections in a row. California's been here fighting it, did nothing. And so when I hear people go, okay, yeah, I thought Republican and MAGAism was going to go away, and then it kept living and then living and living and living and living and living. But I'm sure the next election, that's the one where they're going to get them.
right.
Well, they're optimistic.
No
right?
offense, but that's dumb.
Well,
I'm sorry, no offense, that's dumb. You're not looking at the election track record. The guy is not going away. Many professors, many political experts, James Carville, oh, he's gone. They'll get him. Every expert was wrong. Every expert thought the federal government was going to get him, or the treason trial, or they'd get him on January 6th or something. Everybody was wrong. They all thought he'd be repudiated. Everybody was wrong. These are the same people who go one more election. Why do we listen to that when they've got it so wrong for basically the last decade's worth of time?
and they're now he's really like a mafia boss, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
threatens people. And I've heard interviews with like congressional pages, people who go in and out of these committees. Nobody notices them, right? But they overhear things. And basically he threatens people's families. Like if you vote for impeachment, the other senators, you can't vote for impeachment. Think of your family. Your family won't be safe if you do that.
Yeah.
I've
So
heard that.
he's not anything like, he's ignoring all the courts. He's doing all of this, and it's completely different now.
Yeah,
And it's never going to change. We're never going to have, look, we have RFK now for health. And as a nurse, I am watching what he's doing. He just got rid of the panel that
Yeah, I
did
saw
2
that.
things this week. He got rid of the panel that decides on what newborn testing should be. So they were going to add 2 really important tests where people will live, babies will live if they are identified early, but they will die if they're not. And they got rid of that whole thing, completely gone. Okay. And then he got rid of the panel for preventative diseases that tells you which tests insurance companies have to pay for. So we are really, really screwed. And why are we screwed? Because we had 2 votes in the Senate for voting for or against him. And there's 21 states, same population, 40 million people, and they had 42 votes. So
Yeah.
that is never, ever going to change. We can never count on California. Our vote means very little compared to Wyoming. 500,000 people in Wyoming. They have 1 congressperson, because it's 600,000. It's never going to change. It's never going to change. And I mean, it's so dangerous. I can't even believe it. Like I'm so horrified that this guy is in there. I mean, you grab onto things like Trump has swollen ankles. Maybe he'll die, but he probably won't. like his father lived to be 94 or something
So,
with
I mean,
dementia.
show me where Marco Rubio or Vance
Oh,
repudiated anything Trump said.
yeah, yeah.
Can you name one time where any of the racist, sexist, homophobic, horrible stuff he said, or nearly causing World War III, any one of those people came out and said, I don't stand for that? I'll wait while you come up with an example.
None, none.
Oh,
I
wait, oh,
cannot
there's
believe it.
none?
And
Oh,
all
okay. Oh, okay.
the
Right.
newspapers, everybody is just capitulating to him. TV
So
networks.
how do we know they're going to be any different when he's gone?
I don't
Because
think
that
so.
theory comes
You
from.
still have those other, Vans, all those horrid, all those horrid people known. I just, it's not going to be any different. That's the thing.
I got to tell you,
Okay.
the Latin
I
person,
still would like to see him gone. I want to read his.
yeah. I'll let you go, Kristen, but let me just point this out. I got to tell you, the Latin person, JD Vance, I don't see any difference between him and Trump. He won his race by running a TV commercial saying, "Do you hate Mexicans? I'm Mexican. Why are you running a television commercial that says that?" Yeah, that's a fact.
Mhm.
Trump only talked to him after he won that race in Ohio, after he ran that TV commercial and offered him the VP presidency, after he was racist. Then the first Latino senator, Padilla, gets thrown to the floor like trash. And JD Vance goes on TV and basically makes a joke about it and mispronounces his name and acts like it's not a big deal.
Mm.
Oh,
I'm
I think he
supposed to
did that on
believe you
purpose.
don't hate Latin people and don't think it's okay to treat us like dog feces
Mm.
after you did those two things. And I'm supposed to have faith in you versus Trump?
Oh,
Based on what?
he did that on purpose with Padilla.
Did
He
he
did
actually
that
call?
on purpose.
He called him
I
Jose
was
Padilla.
screaming.
Yeah.
Jose Padilla.
A
Who is,
senator's thrown to
yeah.
the ground, one of the first Latin senators, and you intentionally get his name wrong, and you coincidentally were the guy who ran a race saying, "Do you hate Mexicans?" And I'm supposed to believe that's just a chance coincidence, and that you just happen to work with Trump, and that you'll be more reasonable than Trump.
No,
I see
no.
no evidence for that at all. Kennedy, same thing. Marco Rubio, these guys all back starting World War III. When they went in to blow the nuclear reactors up in Iran and nothing happened, you were preempting World War III. We almost had nuclear exchange and everybody's radiated, and all of them go, "Yeah, good job. We did it." Do you know,
Yeah.
you almost created the conditions to wipe out all life on Earth.
Yeah.
And they don't even know that. They're all, "Yeah, it's cool. We're cool." So again, where does the intelligence, these are not, it's not a cult. Also, I was talking to JJ Ames, the DC insider we brought on 4 decades, worked for FEMA, knows Biden. And he pointed out, what makes you think they won't get more radical after Trump dies? They're going to
Yeah.
want the MAGA base. So they're going to have to out Trump Trump. So that means Vance and Marco and everybody else is going to have to be more extreme than anything you've seen with Trump to get the voters, which means it gets even worse.
Yeah.
Also, let me point out something to you. There's a guy called Norman Ornstein. Norman Ornstein. He made a prediction when Brett Kavanaugh was elected to the Supreme Court. He pointed out how Donald Trump didn't win the majority vote and nominated Kavanaugh. And then a majority of senators who represent a minority of Americans
Right.
confirmed him. And so Kavanaugh became a Supreme Court justice against the will of a majority of Americans. And that's totally legal. And they said, and we had a big bump in CalExit with that, because what Susan's talking about, two senators, they had 60 senators that represented like 30% of the population to go, he's in. So majority hated him, majority hated Trump. That meant nothing. He's in the Supreme Court, and now he'll be there for the next 30 years, writing laws we all have to live in.
Yeah.
Additionally, Norman Ornstein says this is going to go on to the year 2045. Why? Obviously, it doesn't include you guys, but there's a lot of
Thank
Caucasian
you.
people in the Midwest. You're
Excuse
California.
me.
My
You're
mother lived
California.
to be 103, so we'll see.
There's going to be,
Yeah.
there are elderly Caucasians in the Midwest who don't live near minorities, don't live near LGBTQ, don't live near immigrants, don't hear about climate change, only watch Fox News. Fox is only shown in their neighborhoods. They don't have immigrants, minorities, gay people, or liberals hanging around. And that's 35 to 45 states. And according to Norman Ornstein, brown-skinned people don't want to move there because they're scared. LGBTQ people who are born there get the hell out. Immigrants aren't moving there. So he says over the next 20 years, you're going to have an even more isolated, racist, sexist, white supremacist middle America, and nothing's going to change till 2045, which is when there will actually be more minority voters than white voters. So there
Gonna
are more
take that
minority
long?
babies. Yeah, there are more minority babies. It will not be till there's a functional colony on Mars. I shit you not, where there will be more minority voters.
Oh,
So
voters. Yeah, yeah.
voters, which
Yeah.
means this old white, no minorities, no LGBT, no immigrants, no climate change, no liberals in my area in 35 to 45 states gets even more of itself
Yeah.
for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to see more Kavanaughs for 2 more decades, or you're going to get the hell out of Dodge, one of the two.
Yep.
Norman Ornstein's his name, highly respected demographic expert. Made the prediction with Kavanaugh, was one of the few people who could explain the Kavanaugh vote, is still highly respected. By the way, no one has challenged his um, prediction for the future. No one, not even Harvard professors.
Yeah.
And I imagine that another Supreme Court justice is going to retire
Sure.
pretty soon.
Sotomayor is sick.
And
Who's sick? Sorry.
Sotomayor, the
I know.
Puerto Rican, she should have stepped down when Biden was there.
I
She did the
know.
same thing that RBG did, where, go on, girls, stay in power. And it's like, okay, well, what if you get sick and you have to leave when a Republican's president? You didn't want to step down when Biden is. So she's probably going to get sick during Trump's thing. And we're going to have another RBG part two where you should have stepped down and you didn't. And then now the rest of us get screwed for the next 20 to 40 years or however long that person lives. By the way, you can notice he's appointing people in their 30s and 40s
yeah,
for a
Yeah.
damn good reason.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is a very, of
yeah.
course he's going to do that. We're
We're
just
going to
so
get more screwed by the courts. So
rude.
however
Yeah.
conservative they are now, where they overturn Roe v. Wade, where they deny birthright citizenship, you can expect them to be even worse. And there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah.
Do you know this? So I was going to try to look it up, but so this whole birthright citizenship thing, somebody said it will go into effect at the end of this month in some states, but I did not hear that. I think that's that misinformation. I just saw it briefly.
I don't know on that.
Okay, I have
Get
to
back
look
to
it
you on
up.
that. I do want to wrap it up. So
Yeah,
one last
yeah.
question from each of you, and then we'll wrap it up. Admin, we're going to end the show here pretty soon, okay? So one last question, Kristen, last question, then we'll go to Susan, last question.
Okay. So I think we all know Trump by now is the king of retribution. So I think I still think he would be really ticked off if California exits. I mean, look at how he's trying to grab Greenland. He wants more land, not less, right? Um, and if gets his retribution hackles up, they have all our data. Those of us on Social Security, we are at their mercy. They can go in and just cut us all off of Social Security. God be damned, that is legal or not legal.
Sure. You're talking about something that's never happened before. No one's ever postulated doing. There's no legal basis. And let's say he cut Social Security off for you guys. What do you think retired people in the rest of 49 states are going to do? Feel comfortable or revolt against them because they're terrified too? That's the third rail. You can't touch it. So for all your reasons why, I have reasons why not. He can't pull it off. They've never touched Social Security. In fact, he was criticized by the Republican Party by walking back reforms on Social Security because he knew it was a third rail. Same thing with Roe v. Wade, and he walked it back. If we're also talking about Greenland, the reason that Trump wants Greenland and Canada, and he has said this, is because the US military said so. There's a country called Russia. The Arctic is melting. They want to put more missiles along the Arctic base and expand the amount of American control of the Arctic to basically cover the extent on the opposite of Russia. If you own Greenland and Canada, you can do that. What Republicans don't like is a bunch of Californians saying, hey, you need to raise taxes so that we can have teenagers chop off their genitals. That's what they think we do. They hate that image of us. They hate us. They love the military. He is not going for those places for more land. He's going for them because the military advised him to do that so they can do an off-put against Russia. And he's admitted that on 4 separate occasions.
What I don't understand is if Canada really became a 51st state, they would, there's 40 million people there. They're all going to vote blue. Like, I don't understand what he thinks that would. game, like it's an odd. I mean, I'm not going to try to figure out his.
But they'd probably only get 2 senators, though.
Yeah,
They get only 2 senators.
yeah,
But they
yeah,
would,
yeah.
but
Good
they would
point.
get.
Yep.
But as far as the electoral college, they would redo it. They still have 40 million people, like California. It's the same
Right.
amount.
And then they'd still call elections before they counted their votes, like with California for the last 45 years.
Well, they're in different time zones, but Miha,
Sure.
I'm sorry, my dog is freaking out.
We're going to end it there. We'll
So
end
we're
it
going to
there.
wait for you guys to tell us what's happening.
Yep. I'll
Okay.
have we have another meeting with me and Dr. X coming up on August 2nd, Saturday at noon. You are the first two to hear about that. A mass
Okay.
email is going to be coming out about that. We will have regular meetings every week to make sure that you're all informed while we
Okay.
go through this transition.
Okay.
And I want to thank you, Marcus, for having this meeting on Zoom, because
Thank you.
Zoom works great for me. StreamYard and TikTok, whatever, they do not work
Yes,
for
this
me.
works much better.
We,
Yeah.
we've realized, you got to get the youth, and then you got to get this group, and then you got to get that group, and everybody has their own things. We've realized like Facebook works for some people. The youth love TikTok, right? But I get other people don't. So we're trying to be everywhere, and we
Yeah.
need to be here. We need to be in there. And you're right. We're going to try to be everywhere we can. We have to communicate with everybody.
Yeah,
And try to get
I
out
get
of the board.
I get it.
Yeah.
We're going to keep working at this. I promise you.
Okay. Thanks
All
for
right.
thank you,
Good to
Marcus.
know.
All right.
Night.
All right. Thank you.
All
Right.
right.
Bye. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Okay,
Okay,
bye.
admin, let's shut off the show. Stop the recording.